It's 1 month to go, 30 days to go for the World Cup on Indian soil. And I'm deliberately not using the word Women's World Cup because I have a problem with that. When the Indian team travels to the Asia Cup, do you call it the Indian men's team? You don't. You say the Indian team. So when the World Cup happens on Indian soil, don't call it the Women's World Cup, call it the World Cup. Joining us today, former India captain, legend of the game, Anjum Chopra, to talk more about this particular tournament and set it up for us. Trisha Ghoshal, my colleague who will cover the World Cup from on ground, also joining us. Perhaps the 1983 moment, can it be? We've seen our team do brilliantly well in England in both formats. Can this be the moment when they win that trophy and sort of break the bar? All of us will be backing the team in stadia and outside. So to talk about this tournament and set it all up. Anjum, thank you very much for joining me. I know you've got pressing engagements. First things first, I'll go to you and then hand it over to Trisha. 1 month to go. How hopeful are you?
So yes, there's always hope, Boria, because you don't start a tournament without hope of lifting that World Cup trophy one final day. And fortunately, the fact is that in this team also there are players who've been on that big stage earlier, who know the happiness of reaching a World Cup final. They know the sadness of missing a World Cup trophy. So they've seen it all. And the good part or the challenging part is they know what is the biggest hurdle in front of them. So once you're well aware of all those facts, probably the preparation becomes a little more focused, which I feel with this team, and I'm hoping that with this team, moving step by step forward with knowing the challenges at hand, they're able to conquer those roadblocks.
Okay. Trisha, your first comment and then question for Anjum.
It's a home World Cup. So does that add to the pressure, or does that actually kind of lessens it because you have the home crowd backing up?
It doesn't matter, Trisha, at all. Look, again, as a player, once I cross those ropes, whether I'm playing in India or England or in any other land, it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, I know as a cricketer that it's a World Cup, and I'm obviously in an Indian jersey because I'm supposed to do well, and I am picked because I'm better than the one who's not picked. So my job is to score runs or take wickets. So it really doesn't matter once I cross those ropes, depending on my skill, how impressively and how good I'm able to deliver my skill. Yes, when I come back out of those ropes, what is the reception and what is the adulation, that does really make a difference. And we know the fact that in India, there is obviously a lot of following now, fortunately, we can say, for women's cricket, which is a good thing. So I rather have that following rather than walk out after scoring 100 to empty stands.
Just one more but conditions, Anjum. I mean, conditions. Yeah. You have played at DY Patil. You have played in these stadiums where, obviously you have your people there and shout. Will that make a difference? And secondly, you also said this at the start in your opening comments that these people have come close. They know the feel and yet they've not been there. What do you think has been the one problem that we have not been able to go over the line? We can tell you 10 instances, you've commented on all 10, where we could have been there but haven't been there. What is the one thing that stopped us from being there?
So the stadium part, I think it really, it's very individual. As I said earlier, I'd rather come out to full stadium applauding my effort or encouraging me if I haven't done well, rather than empty stand. Now, you want the game to grow, and you can't expect that the game will not put a pressure of expectation from the audience to you. So it doesn't happen. It is either way. Either you play to an empty stand, nobody watching, or you play to a full stadium and many people watching and expecting you to do well, because we are in a country, we don't accept number 2 position. We only want to become champions, and that's how we are trained. Now, to know the conditions, I think, again, it really doesn't matter, because you have to adapt. And that is how we are conditioned, and that is how we are trained. Whether we know the conditions, I think it should work well for us. And not that other players don't know these conditions. They're well aware of what conditions we'll be playing in. And I can proudly say in India, we don't have bad conditions. You play in any stadium, we play in any venue. We boast of more than 30 international cricket venues where international cricket can be played. So obviously our infrastructure is very good. It's about how you adapt on that particular day against the opposition that you're facing. To come to your part, how we've been missing, I put it down to skill level. I feel that there are other teams who have better skill level at that particular time, at that particular moment, than where we were or where we are. But how we overcome those skill level and how we are able to come back as a unit or individually against the opposition, that is, again, I put it down a lot to individual preparation before I say collectively they can all do well.
Tisha?
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the final squad that has come out? Do you think it's a wholesome squad, a complete squad?
There are no other options available. That's the best options available that we've had, or we have to select the squad. I don't think anybody is missed. Look, we have a number of 15. So at best, we'll say, oh, we should have had this player or we should have had that player. That squad, even if you enhance it to 16, 17, but that 16th, 17th member is not going to be the first 10 or first 11 players. So, I will leave those out. I will say who are my first 12 players in that squad. And I don't think the selectors also have many options to choose from. It's not like we're asking somebody that today you're a fit cricketer and you have all the resources available to be in the playing 11 or something, and we're not selecting that player. It is not like that. This is the best available option that we have. I'm happy that Renuka Singh Thakur has progressed to a level that the Indian team feels that with very less cricket behind her and very less competitive cricket behind her, she will get into a World Cup team. So I'm happy that at least there is an extra option in the pace department that India can fall back on.
So you said, sorry, Burial, I'll just ask one more. You said playing 12. So who are your playing 12?
So let's reduce out. So I have obviously not counted the playing exactly 11, yeah. But I don't think it's going to be rocket science. The very fact that India played, I was surprised though that India played 4 spinners in England and played with just 1 seamer in England, which I thought was very surprising, but it suited them and that's how they wanted to go ahead with. Some things are best to judge from outside, not really get into it and understand why this and why that, as long as the results come their way. I feel that there should be 2 fast bowlers minimum in that lineup who can bowl 20 overs, whether you utilize them or not. That's up to the captain. But in an ideal team, I would want 2 quick bowlers and 1 fast bowling all-rounder. And when I say fast bowling all-rounder, there is nobody other than Amanjot Kaur in that lineup. I would feel that Amanjot Kaur should be a certainty in each and every playing 11 because she's of great importance in that 3 departments that we're looking at. But I also feel that Indian team might look at a spin bowling all-rounder ahead of a seam bowling all-rounder. But how they are able to fit Sneh Rana and a left-arm spinner, either or between a Radha or a Charani, how they're able to balance out their batting is probably dependent on the venue, dependent on the opposition, and depending upon the form of that particular player that the team feels that we should have this bowler or this all-rounder in that setup. Beyond that, I don't think there'll be a lot of debate in the playing 12.
Anjum, do you think, if I say that in terms of talent, obviously we have serious talent, and some of our big players who have been much celebrated, take a Smriti Mandhana, for example, no questioning the ability. But when it comes to the big stage, do you expect more? Over the years, do you expect that in the big games, these people need to put their hand up more and make it count? Because that's when it really matters, whether it is the captain, whether it is the vice captain, whether it is someone like Deepti Sharma, who has been there for a decade now. Do you think our bigger players, when it comes to the World Cup and these kind of tournaments, need to do a bit more?
100%. I couldn't agree less, Boria. I think anybody, look, I've never been of the fact, or I've never been of a believer of a senior or a junior in a setup. Once I'm an India player, I'm an India player. And my job is to make sure that my team wins. That is the only line that I've always believed in from the day I started playing cricket till even today. But I do feel that experience requires a little more responsibility to be accepted and to be adhered to more than anyone who has played lesser number of matches. And I completely agree that bilateral series is essential. But what happens in World Cups is of great importance as well. I'm not saying one is more important than the other. No, everything is important as long as I'm in those India colors. But yes, World Cups require a little more maturity, a little more better planning. with maturity, with emphasis on deliverance, everything is essential. So how that pie is actually balanced so that we are not letting it leak from any side of that of the plate. We have to ensure that the pie remains absolutely stable and firm so that we can get the perfect product.
Sisha?
How do you see Kranti Gaur? She bowled well in England. Also in the WPL, I think she bowled a few good in-swingers. So how do you actually see Kranti Gaur, and how? Also, I had this question in mind because of what you mentioned, that Renuka has no match practice behind her really coming into the World Cup. Even if she plays the Australia tour, it will just be the 3 matches, right? So do you see Renuka straight away coming in to the team because of the experience and all, or do you see Kranti continuing?
For me, Trisha, yes, to answer your first question, Kranti has shown promise, and I'm very happy to the fact that at a time where we probably had, nobody listed in that fast bowling column, we have at least one bowler we can fall back on. And I'm happy for a young cricketer coming through the ranks that they feel it is essential for them to deliver, because if they do, they become overnight stars. So I'm very happy with that approach, with the generation that is walking into the playing 11, whether they're playing a franchise cricket or whether they're playing for India. That mindset works very well for me. Kranti has shown great promise. Yes, conditions in England will be, I'll probably say conditions in India will be very similar to what the conditions they've just recently played. So that confidence obviously matters. 6 wickets in a match, everybody knows your name. You'll walk into an Indian team for the World Cup. All these things really, encourage you. So she should be one of those contenders. The other thing is Renuka saying, yes, I feel if she's fit, she walks into the playing 11, no questions asked. Even if she's in scrap, probably a little bit of a scratchy form or not the best form, you have to play her because you need her. You need her for all the 7 league games, and you also have to understand whether she'll be fit for all the 7 games as well, and then hopefully going forward. So yes, she walks in. In terms of how the Indian team balances their bowling lineup, that is probably a very interesting observation that I'll keep to myself. How they start, whether they're playing Sri Lanka, whether they're playing New Zealand, when they're playing Australia or England, how is it that they're balancing their bowling lineup and their batting lineup?
Anjum, 2 questions before Trisha kind of takes over again, and we know we've got 10 more minutes because you have to rush. One, and this is a macro question. Had it been a home World Cup for men, we would have still already seen 1 million articles flooding our digital, our print, our television, our radio. While we say that, equality and sensitivity and all of that, I still think the coverage is muted, the coverage is lukewarm. You have been, and now I'm not asking the former India captain and legend. I'm asking someone who's in the media space, does broadcast, does other things. Do you think the media has way more responsibility and it's now our time to step up at every level and back this team? That's question number 1. And question number 2, when, this is the World Cup, for God's sake. I mean, ultimately, people will remember you for this. Is it about pressure and the inability of some of these players to not be able to deal with pressure that has stopped us? Say 2017, say 2020, say whatever. I mean, Commonwealth Games first came Australia. Multiple times. I mean, one can narrate 20 such examples. Is it our inability to deal with pressure, and how does the media take to the World Cup?
See, I feel as a cricketer, it's my job to score runs, take wickets, and make sure my team wins. My job is not to hope and feel what's happening outside the boundary line. That is uncontrollable, and that is something that I, as a cricketer, should not even be bothered about. Yes, it will affect me because I will see my counterparts or the male sport get so much of attention, even if they walk down the corridors of an airport. It doesn't matter, but I guess that's how the sport has evolved. It's better to accept that fact rather than fight that fact. From where our seniors had started playing the game in 1971 to where we are today, I think this is a much better and a preferred space to be in. At least people know who Kranti Gaur is after 4 one-day internationals. People know who Smriti Mandhana is. People know who Harmanpreet Kaur as the captain is. So I'm happy with that space. I will not fight this space. Yes, things could have been better, but they're progressing. They are much better to where they are. We played a World Cup in 2005, and I feel that team was the best team ever to play a World Cup final. 2017, they lost that World Cup final in England, and still we celebrated the team as to say they won the World Cup final. That's just media following. So my thing is, like, I think the very day that India wins a World Cup, things will improve. I won't say things will change. Things will improve, and let's wait for that day. Even if we don't win a World Cup, at least let's ensure that we win most of the matches, so that people are more on our side as an Indian team follower rather than the opposite side and saying our team deserves nothing. So that's one part of it. The other part is that there's pressure. I think it's always nice to have pressure. That's always, if people expect things out of me, it's better rather than not expect anything out of me. And then one small column in one newspaper of 4 lines: India women thrash so and so and win the tournament, win the match by 6 wickets. Next, they played this team. I mean, who wants to have a four-line small column 2 by 2 rather than have an entire page of the women's sports coverage? So yes, that I would feel that pressure is rather better on my side rather than have no expectation out of me as a cricketer. And I expect, if I want the people to recognize me when I walk into the corridors of an airport, then the responsibility lies on me to make sure that I do good stuff where people appreciate that.
Nice answer. Trisha.
Get to the teams a little, and there we of course start with Sri Lanka in Guwahati. Sri Lanka came into the T20 World Cup last with a lot of confidence, and they had won the matches, but that did not really transpire. In the tri-series this time, they actually showed that they can chase, but somehow when they're batting first, it's not working. So how do you see Sri Lanka shaping up and the India-Sri Lanka match shaping up actually?
They have a match winner called Chamari Atapattu who can take the game away from any opposition. She's one. But what is very heartening to see for Sri Lankan cricket is whether it's Harshita Samaravikrama, whether it is Kavisha Dilhari, whether it is the junior lot which is stepping up to support the senior lot, whether it is Anusha Sanjeevani who's walking in and saying, I'm there, I can chase targets down. What is heartening to see for Sri Lankan cricket is that these cricketers have also started stepping up and saying, it's not only about Chamari, even if she gets dismissed, we are there to handle it. And that's what was there for me to see when they won the Asia Cup. That was a very impressive win against Pakistan. So 50 over cricket, I think they're still a developing team, but because they're a developing team and we call ourselves as one of those top 4 teams in the world, doesn't mean that they cannot threaten us. They can, and on any given day, these are the top 8 teams who are playing the World Cup. So on any given day, it can be somebody's good day and somebody's bad day. So rather than going that side, I'll say that what is my job to do is to go out there and score 300 plus runs if I'm batting first. And my job as a bowling unit is to ensure that I try to restrict the opposition under a score which my batters feel they can chase down, even if they're under a pump. Even if they lose early wickets in the first 10 or 15 overs, they're able to chase down. So that kind of confidence is what this team should have, rather than what is the opposition all about and how they are going to be on that particular day.
Anjum, penultimate question, and Trisha can close the show. Your assessment of Amol as coach from the time he's taken over?
I actually don't assess a lot of coaches because that's a little unfair. So I'm obviously watching the game from the opposite end of the cricket ground. So there are always question marks. Why this? Whether it was Amol today or whether it was the earlier coaches. How I have now probably started assessing is that, like, I didn't feel correct when Indian team was not having 3 fast bowlers playing in England, because I feel that India needs to start understanding and relying on their fast bowlers more than their spinners, because spinners are good, we know that. Let's not keep testing them. Let's test our seam bowlers also. Someday we'll have to rely on them. But when I see the result, whether it's a win, it's not, or loss, it's not about that. But when I see the result and how that result has happened, whether it was a batting failure or whether it was a bowling failure, that's how I see, okay, what is the coach's mindset or what is the team's mindset? For me, Amol Mazumdar, because we've shared the commentary box as well, I know how he thinks. He's very aggressive. He's very tactical in his approach. Whether his tactics have started getting translated with this present Indian group, probably time will tell. Because earlier the tests were against Ireland. The earlier test was against West Indies. Yes, he started with a test win against Australia. But at the end of the day, now there's a lot of time. I feel that the Indian team is in a happy space. And for me, that's a massive plus. Whoever is heading this team is important. But for me, a team being in a happy space, getting into a premier tournament is essential.
Trisha, final question?
Yeah, the final question will obviously have to be the top 4 teams, as in the teams that you think will qualify for the semi-finals.
See, obviously, I would want India to qualify, and for me, it really doesn't matter who the other 3 are, because, as I say, whether I'm playing in Navi Mumbai or whether I'm playing in Guwahati or Colombo, it doesn't matter. My job as a team is there will be some opposition between these other 7. So I as a team have to just ensure that I get into the semi-final and I play good cricket. There'll be matches where I will falter. There'll be matches where I'll be pressed to have a better net run rate and all. That will happen. But I just need to be prepared. So it doesn't, for me, we've gone around these teams very many times. We know what the strengths and the opportunities lie. But at the end of the day, whether it's England, Australia, whether it's Sri Lanka, Pakistan, it really doesn't matter. My job is to first get to the semi-final and then to the final. And then the third step lies of winning it.
Matter of fact, candid, straightforward, yes, did not hold back, whether it's about coaching, whether it's about team selection. Anjum Chopra, thank you very much for joining us. I mean, this was our National Sports Day weekend special. 1 month to go. Hopefully, as she said, this could be India's moment. We all live in hope. At the same time, we've got to keep our feet on the ground. It's one step at a time. Get to the semi-final and then beyond. Anjum, we will look forward to your commentary and to some great results. And on behalf of everybody at RevSportz, Trisha and Snehashish and multiple people will be there on ground to cover. So we'll do our job in trying to back the team to the fullest. Thanks very much, both of you, for joining us.
Thank you.